My dad works in B2B marketing. He came by my school for career day and said he was a big ROAS man. Then he told everyone how much he loved calculating his return on ad spend. My friends still laugh at me to this day.
Not everyone gets B2B, but with LinkedIn, you'll be able to reach people who do. Get a $100 credit on your next ad campaign. Go to linkedin.com/results to claim your credit. That's linkedin.com/results. Terms and conditions apply. LinkedIn, the place to be, to be.
You just found the perfect product that helps with staying cool during hot summer runs. No more gross warm water. Stay cool with this product from Gear Handle. This hydration tube cover helps keep your water cool and easily accessible. Stay hydrated during those long summer runs or even delay from freezing in the winter. Plus, they're compatible with various brands of water bladders and come in various colors. Visit gearhandle.com and use promo code H2O today.
BooBaes.
Hi.
Hi, and hello.
Oh.
And welcome.
To? Oh, that was anticlimactic. Could I try it again?
Yes. And welcome to... There we go.
There we
That's
go.
good.
I love this little button. Anyways, welcome to BooBaes, you guys.
We're your host. I'm Caitlin.
And I'm Joshua.
And we're here to talk about a...
How would you intro this?
You know, I lost brain cells, I think, watching this.
We watched it for you, so good thing
did.
you're listening to this podcast.
Yes,
you
you
get
don't
the whole
have
scoop without having to sit through it.
I like halfway through was like, oh, I'm going to recommend this to my friend who really likes these like terrible low budget movies. And then I was like, I
don't know if I can stand by this.
Yeah,
there's some parts of it that it's kind of the what's it called? The script.
Yes.
Yeah, on that script. Yeah. It wasn't
also-
actually like too obscene, like in a like what's the word I'm looking for? Offensive way.
Yeah.
But like more just
so
grotesque
many,
kind of way. Yeah.
And just like gross. Yeah.
Yeah.
With the whole like tentacle farting thing. It was like,
that was
ew.
just, me too.
And
I was
then-
like, and then the guy with her vision and the guy with the water.
Shitting in it,
I was
yeah.
like, what? That was unnecessary.
Yeah. And now there were some pretty savage parts, like when he ripped off that guy's dick, shoved it in his mouth,
and then was drinking the blood
from the dick hole.
Yes.
That was
pretty. That was pretty
If
wild.
you want to watch it for anything, watch it for that scene and for Jodie's entire existence.
And what movie are we talking about, Caitlin?
Ugly Sweater Party, made in 2018.
Yep.
You would never believe it.
You would 2007.
Yeah.
Like at best.
That's what it, this must have, I wonder what the budget was.
We could look it up, but
$5.
We'll just leave it at that. Yeah, the budget isn't that great. You can tell because of like the cameras, the cast, the budget for like wherever they're filming, the editing, wherever the editing. Yeah, that's like a magic movie, like off of like, a MacBook.
Yeah.
And then like not even good, not even done well. Though.
It had like slideshow transitions at one point. It was like,
and the way it would cut from scene to scene, and a lot of instances, there was a lot of cutting in between like things happening.
Yeah.
They
Like
couldn't have
at the
just done one
opening.
thing. Yeah, exactly.
They were cutting in between that.
The credits and
the credit with the song was kind of fun.
I did like the song, honestly.
And I liked
song
the
was a
shots
bop.
happening. It felt very promising.
You can tell that they made all this music themselves on like a garage band.
I love it.
For the movie. Yeah.
You think the metal music too? I wonder if that was like
probably a real band they hired, maybe.
I wonder.
Or a brother. His brother's in a band.
Yeah.
And they came up like it was like a favor.
Or the director was the lead singer of that band.
Could have been.
And he was like, I just really need to promote my heavy metal music album.
An overextended music video.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So much of this movie could have been cut out had they not had all those scenes with the heavy metal band.
Could have also been like a 45-minute thing as opposed to like
an hour and 20.
An hour and 20, yeah.
Yeah.
There were some moments where I was like, what are we doing now?
There were a lot of moments where I was like, can I just skip ahead? I didn't.
I totally get you. I thought about the same thing.
I was having to watch this like in the vicinity of other people.
Yeah.
And so I was like, dear God, please
don't say anything
not
like
look at
really,
the
really bad. Yeah.
right now. And then there's
work.
like the whole mom like sex scene and stuff where
Oh, I totally forgot about that.
I was like,
that was
please, this is so embarrassing to watch
very
right now.
cringe.
Yes.
But yeah, so let's 5 minutes in, let's get into the cringe movie we're talking about. So it starts essentially with a prisoner, and we're in this room and we see
it says a secret police black site.
Which I didn't even understand that, because then it was like a prisoner is here and he's awaiting judgment.
Yeah, a person in an ugly sweater awaits judgment. And there's a bunch of swastikas around.
Yeah, swastikas, which I didn't get.
I didn't.
And then there was like his sweater wasn't even looking like a sweater. It was like
it was a hoodie, first off.
A hoodie, yes. And it gave like inmate, like something that you would wear at a facility, like you know what I mean? Type of situation.
Was giving Freddy.
That's true.
Especially when the gloves started growing on Cliff's hands.
Yeah.
I'm going to be honest, y'all. There's a lot of times where I don't know these people's names. And even though these twins are fraternal, I don't remember which one is which.
Samantha and Susan?
Yeah.
Susan is the dark-haired one.
Okay.
Yes. And Samantha is
blonde.
The blonde one. Cliff, Jody, and Hannah.
Mm-hmm. I know Hannah.
And then counselor...
Mandix.
And then his wife, I don't remember her name at all.
No, I just called her mom.
Mm-hmm. Father Bottoms. Which is, all these names are just like hysterical.
Yeah, they were.
They're all supposed to be punny for the most part. And I wonder why. Well, Jody and Cliff's weren't. I bet you that's like their actual names. And so we have them starting with doing all that in the room. He's like, we have this cop come in. The cop essentially gives more like a sheriff or something, like a type of authority figure. He has, hungry.
I called him detective.
With power. Detective, yeah, it could be a detective. And then the other dude with the suit on.
Yeah, I called him little boy.
Little boy. That makes sense. Well, they come on in and he's basically just like, what's not an interrogation, but like
just
yelling at him because
Declan Rains.
Yeah, he chopped up 4 families on Christmas Eve, including little kids, babies, and then like
the bow was still on the bike.
Yeah, because he strung up the baby's head on the bike.
Oh,
yeah,
damn, that's savage.
Savage, I know. And then the little boy is like, "What about his Miranda rights?" And he's like, "Miranda has the right to suck my soul."
Yeah. He
says a bunch of other
big
things.
Throbbing, like,
yeah.
I was like, oh, okay. And then he said, where are the kids' Miranda rights?
Yeah.
Too, because he said, like, where were their rights? They just got murdered in cold blood. So why does this motherfucker get any? Which is like, okay, fair.
Fairish, but also like we don't take justice into our own hands, do we? There's a trial system.
That's true.
But they are basically just yelling at him even more. And then they finally like take off whatever a burlap sack or something that they have around his head, or there's something on his head. And then he's talking to him and he's like, I know all things and I see all things through him. And he's like, through who?
Yeah, he calls him by his name.
Oh, that's right. He
says like, blah, blah, blah,
officer
blah, blah.
something.
Yeah.
And then he's like, through who? And then he turns to like a Satan statue, I guess.
Yeah, a little bust of Satan.
I don't know, maybe this was like an altar place that the dude, they just found him there and they're in there with him.
Yeah.
Like they didn't take him to somewhere else.
It was a rather weird
room. There's a lot of weird stuff everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Like a cultish a little bit, because there's like pentagrams and stuff.
Yeah.
And so I don't know. And mind you, the sweater that he has on has like chains on it and has like pentagrams on it.
Yeah, like a pentagram. Almost
like
an
Iron Man.
Tony Stark has?
Yes, literally like an Iron Man thing.
That thing on his chest.
Arc reactor. I don't even know what it is. But like with a fucking pentagram. Yeah. And it glows too. It was glowing.
I know. It looked exactly like that.
And so that's whenever, I guess at this point, he's being a little like, he's talking about Jesus or something at that point. He's like, I'm going to ruin Christmas or something like that.
Yeah, he says every present will be wrapped in flesh and shit like this.
He's being like blasphemous to like, religion and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess Christmas. And then the officer's like telling him like, it's about God, it's Jesus.
He
and
says,
all this.
Jesus Christ is fucking God.
Yeah, that's what he says. Literally.
That was so funny to me. I was like, you're literally
cursing. You're taking his name
in vain while you're cursing at this other man for doing the same thing.
And then it kind of escalates really fast because then he starts like breaks his dick. He just starts like ripping his dick, and
I was
like,
oh my God,
all the blood comes out, and then
the crack it made. Ugh.
And then he wraps the dude's head, Declan's face, and like
wrapping paper.
Yeah. And then he starts bashing it in with a bat.
It
was pretty gross.
It was. It escalated, like you said, so quickly.
Because it looked kind of real. And essentially,
the practical effects were actually pretty good until we get to the laser beams.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Oh, yeah. Even whenever he was like, not the laser beams, like all the other times with beforehand. What was I going to say though about this? Like we mentioned earlier, no, this whole thing is like, it's cutting in between the credits the whole time.
My notes right above the every present will be wrapped in flesh was like, Jesus, we keep switching between the song and the serious scene, the serious-esque
and it was
scene.
because it was cut so choppy. So it was
like almost
jarring.
mid-sentence, and then it was like ugly sweater party or whatever
with like the credits and everything rolling. It was a bit weird. It was a choice for sure, but then I
wonder if they just edited it blind, like had their eyes blindfolded and their ears covered, and we're like,
I don't know,
this is good.
Or they had like 5 minutes to do it, and that was it, because it was pretty bad. Comical, maybe it was meant to be that way. I don't know.
I feel like it was.
Because as soon as they start bashing in this dude's head, like this creature starts popping out of him.
I was like, is this an alien situation?
Yeah,
now?
That's what it was giving. And I was like,
first off, we've got swastikas and Nazi paraphernalia, then Satan, and now aliens?
Aliens, yeah, as it's coming out. And then you hear this voiceover saying like, do it, kill it, don't stop. And essentially the little guy detective shoots at it.
Little man had enough. He's like, fucking die.
Shut up. And then that's whenever it kind of just like dies, but then like it goes into the sweater, like the blood like absorbs away, kind of very Jack Frost.
Oh, yeah.
And like going into the snow.
That's right.
And then
somehow on the wall,
it's a Merry fucking Christmas.
Yeah, blood spelled Merry fucking Christmas from him being chopped up or whatever.
And they were like, what does that even mean? Or something like that. It was like, well, pretty.
It's not
pretty
over.
Obvious. And
it's
then
actually the start of the movie.
Literally, because and then I thought was really funny whenever the little guy was then asking him like, where do you think it went? And he's like, only our heavenly Father knows, and I'm not about to fucking ask him. And then we get a title
card.
Ugly Christmas sweater.
It was funny.
Is that the title? No.
Ugly sweater party.
My bad.
Ugly Christmas sweater. And then it flashes
10 years later.
10 years later, but the 10 years later was written in such, at first whenever you see it, it's on a black screen with red. It almost looks like, you know, if you were just writing on like an iPad or something. And then it goes to a toilet bowl. And it's written like 10 years later on the lid. On the lid, yes. And or on the seat. It's on the seat. And then that's whenever we see that it immediately goes to a dude like shaving his pubic hair. Yes. Jody. That was rather. So I was like, oh my God, please, no, look at the screen right now. Oh, I can only imagine. Yes. I watched this in the comfort of my own bedroom. I also didn't know if his dick was going to show up at any point. It was almost pretty much. It was close very to it. Close. And we did see a butt. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Also, who shaves their pubes like that? That seems very. There was also cereal. There was cereal on the floor that the pubes were getting into, and then he steps into it, and then the trimmer that he was using, you wouldn't really use to like trim your area like that. And he ends up like cutting himself and screaming, and then he's like trying to get Cliff's attention. And then another like, oh God, please don't look at the screen. Oh yeah, this moment, because then it turns into like a strip tease between Cliff and this woman in a bedroom. Yeah, and she's like chained up, and I was like, honey, this man is gay. BDSM. Yeah, very much like, so. He looks identical to all the men I've seen in the gay clubs, just dancing. And dancing. Like the way he was dancing moving, and everything. Yeah. I was like, it was a little flamboyant. Yeah. Yeah. I was like, he is a professional male dancer. And so that's whenever he starts like taking his clothes off and it starts hitting her in the face, and it's like making that really comical noise, and he gets up on her and they start like kissing, and then we realize that it cuts to him in real life and he's in the restroom like air humping. Yep. And that's whenever what's his face, Jody, moves a partition, and he's like, whoa, are you a date? He says, are you dance streaming again? Dance streaming, yes.
Oh my God.
And he's like, I told you not to open the partition.
Yeah. And they're that's whenever he asks him, like Jody asked for him for his razor and he wants to use his razor on his pubes. And I'm like, oh my God. And he's like, don't worry, I'll wash it.
I was like, no.
And he also says, oh, we get to I can't wait to hook up with Susan tonight.
Yeah, and he was like, Susan is my girl. Your girl is Samantha.
He's like, it's hard to tell them apart. They're twins.
They're twins. He's like, they're fraternal twins. They look nothing alike.
And they really did look nothing alike. They are not related at all in real life at all. And so that's whenever we then, I believe, cut to, or no, they're talking about a party. They're going to that party. That's right. That they got invited to by these twins. And I guess Cliff this whole time to set it up has just been, all he's been thinking about and obsessing over is that time that he spent on spring break with Susan. So he just wants to be with her. And that
was the girl who was in the bed that he was fucking
exactly.
dreaming to.
Mm-hmm. And so he really wants to be with this gal. And then, I mean, Jody just wants to have a good time.
Yeah.
And so that's whenever it cuts to them talking. Are they already driving or it just cuts to the girls?
Yes, they're driving. I think
right.
Because then we get a shot. We get our first shot, I think, of the ghost.
Oh, that's right.
Declan. They drive past Declan
as they're leaving, and it's like it's very bad.
It looks like Haunted Mansion.
He's been in a lot of stuff. That guy, that actor.
Oh yeah, he has.
I was like, whoa. He's like he's not John Buscemi, but he's like almost in that vein.
Like Steve Buscemi.
Did I say John? Yeah. Oh God, I'm sorry, Steve.
I'm sorry, Steve.
I'm sorry. Disgrace upon my whole family.
No. Let's see what his name is.
Yeah, he's in the show, The Good Girls. I think it's on Netflix. I was watching
Sean Whalen.
Sean Whalen. The Whalen Corporation of Aliens.
Felissa Rose was Miss Mandix. Oh, that was her name. Was just Miss Mandix.
The wife, right? Of Counselor Mandix. But yeah, they're on their way to the party. That's when we see that it was a text from the girls. And Jody is really bad at, like, I guess reading a whole full text because Cliff is like anxious about all of it. And he's making him read the text because he has IBS, right? Or something like that. And he wants to make sure, or I don't know. I think that might be a little further along. But it does cut to Susan and Samantha at this point because they're getting baptized by Father Bottoms.
He says, like, you have to let go of your wicked dumpster slut ways or something.
And they're looking like, huh? And they're so funny. Okay. And then when they said his name, I was like, laugh my ass off, Father Bottoms. What a name.
Yeah.
And then he starts like sprinkling holy water on them, but not before they're just like, wait, you baptize me first.
Yeah,
no, baptize me first.
So Jesus would baptize me first.
Yeah. And they're definitely playing up to like annoying vapid twins. Like they don't know anything essentially.
They are dumb.
And he starts sprinkling them with this holy water that looks disgusting.
It was from the spring.
Sewage? I don't know. Oh, that's right.
I think it might have been Alan's shit.
What we saw later on. You're right.
It looked like oil, like car oil.
Yeah, it did. It really did. Sludge. And that's whenever we do see, I think after they're baptized, what's her name? Hannah's like across.
He's like, hey, witch. She's like, my name is Hannah.
I love the way he was like, hey, witch. And she's like dressed like that.
Give me your towel. Give me a towel.
And then he's like, you should get baptized, get rid of your wicked ways or something like that.
And then she gets a vision of his death whenever he touches her to grab the towel, I think.
And she says something about it and he's like, heresy.
Yeah.
And I love that the girls over there like taking snapshots and it's like #blessed.
Whenever the #blessed showed up, I like
busted out laughing.
Yeah,
it was so funny. It came out of nowhere. I wasn't expecting it. And then it's like hashtag, and then it even says #Adam not Steve.
Yeah.
Or Eve not
Adam
whatever.
and Eve not Steve. It said #God girl, #Jesus is Lord, #chosen, and #Adam and Eve not Steve.
I loved it. It was hilarious.
It was so good with it. It went to like a grayscale all of a sudden, and then it was just this gold, very like paint
gaudy.
Or word art, #blessed.
Like what people used to do like on MySpace back in the day, kind of a situation.
It was so good.
And so this
is where they're talking about IBS now.
Yeah, here in the car as they're on their way to the party.
He's
and
like,
then
can you just read the text?
And what invitation to party? He's like, oh yeah, and the bathrooms are like,
yeah, no.
And so it's an ugly Christmas sweater party, we find out through this text. And then Cliff is freaking out because he's like, why wouldn't you tell me? And he doesn't have a Christmas party. Yeah, he's like
a nicer kind of outfit.
He's
got a little vest on and,
more formal-ish almost in a way. Or like he's going to work, honestly.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then Cliff was like, why didn't you read the whole text? And he's like, I don't know. It was really fucking long.
Yeah.
Just was like, of course, Jody didn't read that whole text.
And so that's whenever we have them on the side of the road. And then Jody's just like, well, we can go to the mall. We can go somewhere. And he's like, we're in the middle of nowhere. There's nothing out
here.
here.
We're 5 miles away from the party.
Yeah.
Which is in the like a campsite deep in the woods.
Yeah. And so essentially we have this guy popping out of the forest or woods, whatever.
Very raggedy looking.
Yeah, and then you can quickly recognize that it's the cop dude from the beginning.
Detective, not looking so hot now.
Yeah, and he asked them for spare change, and then he's like, "Sorry, all we have is credit cards," and they pass him on the way, but pass him along.
He calls them cunt giblets.
Yeah, he does.
I was like, oh.
But then they notice that he has an ugly sweater on the back of his the bag. Yeah. And it just so happens to be the sweater that was on Declan.
Dun, dun, dun.
And so they are just like, oh, he's got a sweater. They managed to find some dollars, literally. And he's like, I just found some money. And he gives them $3. And he's like, if I make it a solid $5, how about you give me that sweater? Mm-hmm. And it's obviously, it kind of triggers him. And he's just like,
absolutely not. Like, no, you cannot have it. And then we get Declan, his spirit. And it's like a green wispy, and it's basically just like yelling at Cliff saying, he won't give up the sweater. You'll have to take it. And like Cliff is almost straight up getting possessed here. Mm-hmm. And then Jody starts trying to take it from the detective man. He was like, it started because of my sins, is what he said. I felt like. Mm-hmm. And then he said, but I shan't let the sweater infest your soul. And I liked shan't.
I know. Just when anyone says shan't.
Shan't.
So yeah, they end up, Cliff ends up walking up towards him and because he starts attacking Jody, essentially. And then Cliff walks up and beats him with a rock in the back of the head and almost nearly kills him.
I thought he was
thought he was dead at this point as well.
And then whenever he came to a little bit later, I was like, oh.
Yeah, I was like,
this bitch not dead. Mm-hmm. I definitely thought he was.
And even Jody's like, what the fuck, dude? Like,
he was like, yo, stop.
Yeah.
Like, that's enough. And he was like, well, he was hurting you. Or he said he was going to kill you.
Yeah.
So
and then Jody was like, oh, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. And then the moment he puts on that sweater, you can just tell
a change in his
whole
personality.
It was so weird.
Yeah.
He was clearly not him.
And Jody was just like, you're sweating like Santa's nutsack.
Yes.
Because he really was.
He was. Mm-hmm. And then he just starts like yelling, that's it. And like laughing maniacally. Mm-hmm. And he's already said like other weird shit. Like, he didn't treat the sweater right, but I will.
That Jody's already really being like weirded out by.
Yeah. And whenever he starts laughing and yelling, that's it. It was actually kind of creepy. I was like, get out of that car, Jody.
I would be freaked
This
out.
man is wacko.
But that's his best friend.
Speaking of wacko, whenever they get to that campsite and stuff, I
literally,
was like, what in the Waco is this?
It was really, really, all the characters were something else. And then so we have them essentially pulled over and we have him drawing on Jody's shirt. And it looks like he's giving him a blowjob, like in the woods.
And then Jody even says, he's like, hurry up. If someone sees us, they're going to think that you're like
chugging on my dick.
Yeah.
And then that's whenever he's drawing like this sweaty man on his shirt.
An ugly man sweating. Mm-hmm. An ugly sweater.
Who's also aroused and he's like coming. Mm-hmm. And even Jody is like, what? Why would you do that? But then someone comes up, right?
Yeah.
No, well, he also has my bad. Before that, he has Cliff says that his head is hurting, and then he has this vision.
That's right. I was like, chainsaws the man in the face is my next note.
So he ends up having this vision, but it's not a vision. It's actually a premonition of the past. It's the past.
Declan's basically showing him the past murders
that had happened.
He's showing them how they unfold. So we see him going up the same stairs to this like apartment complex that we saw earlier. And then he just busts through the door, has a chainsaw, and then just like, this man in the face.
And it's pretty graphic.
It was.
And then we have, it cuts to the cop not being dead.
Yeah.
And he wakes
how the
up.
Fuck is he still alive?
And then he sees that there's a bow of trails. A trail of bows, my bad.
A bow of trails.
And so he starts to follow them.
I like the way that he got up, yelled, no, like so dramatically, and then just like deadpan face. And it was just like,
yeah.
Like he just gave up. But then he saw the bows and he was like, oh.
And so after that, that's whenever we have cutting back to the guys. They're
the
like
first actual good shot of the movie.
Yeah.
As it panned, like we got the scenery and then it panned down, and the way like it looked of them walking down that trail, I was like, this is actually a nice shot.
Yeah.
And then it immediately flashes to behind them and it's like all grainy again.
It's all
and
bad.
I'm like, okay.
And they're walking, they're just going through the middle of the woods trying to find the cabin essentially. And they finally do arrive to it. It's like all decorated with like little snowmen
some sort
and
of
stuff.
like demon eyes are watching them.
Oh yeah. They're being watched by
get,
something.
Like this view.
It's like a red
through
film
red
over
eyes.
it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess that's Declan.
I guess so.
I thought
couldn't
it was
imagine
like
it being
Satan
anything else.
in a goat form in the woods watching them at first, but then I was like, no, that never showed up. So I guess it's just Declan.
And they finally make it to that
also,
cabin.
What is the name Declan?
I've heard the name Declan, but also,
I've heard
what
it.
is it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It just feels, that's the name.
It's like Deck and Land.
Declan. Rains.
Declan Rains.
Everyone else's like names were so pretty punny, and so I'm trying to figure out.
Other than Jody and Hannah and
Declan Rains.
It's just basically the people there because there's Roberto and then there's, did we ever get a name of those other people really? We had Sister Nips at one point. Yeah.
Yes.
And there's Aaron. But we have them getting there and it's all decorated. There is all this stuff about Christmas time. It's, the season. And so that's whenever they're just kind of like, whoa, wait, is nobody here? Because it's so like they don't see anybody. They're like, we must be the first ones here. And then
they're like, are we sure this is it? And he's like, the ugly mailbox up there said it was.
Yeah. And then that's whenever we first get our introduction to Counselor Mandix because he pops up.
Yep.
In his little shorty shorts. And
he's like, have you seen the Finger Twins? And he was like, I'm their father.
And he's like, the Thinker Twins.
So smart,
yeah.
those two.
And we also, I believe, see that it cuts to the cop like struggling to like follow the trails. He's like basically dragging himself.
He looked like he didn't get anywhere.
That far. Yeah. Because then he just like collapses.
Again.
Yeah. And so we have them talking about to the dad about the sisters. And then that's whenever I guess Cliff gets another vision, right?
Yeah. I know that Mrs. Mandix comes up too.
That's right.
Says she's a hugger. It's giving Cliff a bunch of like a real sensual hug.
Mm-hmm.
She also had shoved the hot dog buns in between. Because she came up saying like, I have the buns, but I can't find the wieners.
Yeah.
And then like whenever she saw them, she shoved the buns in between her legs and was like holding them there.
Yeah.
And I was like, what?
I thought it was really weird.
And then she gives him the most like
awkward
completely rubbing her body up against him.
His penis.
And so then of course he has a boner.
Yeah.
And then that's when Counselor Mandix is like, Jesus is the answer to your urges.
Mm-hmm. And they're like, oh my God, this is Bible camp. They're like, this is a Christ camp.
Yeah. And also at this point, Cliff pulls up his sleeve.
Mm-hmm. And there's something like icky on him.
I was like, is there corn under his skin? It looked like...
I get what you mean.
Like little chunks of...
Like
it
little
was
dermals
blistered and stuff. It was really nasty looking. But I think that's our kind of first idea that maybe something's not right with Cliff. There's a definite change, and the sweater is maybe not so willing to come off. Dun, dun, dun.
Hey there, homeowners. Is it time to give your yard a complete makeover this summer? Villani Landshapers, a local family-owned business, has been transforming landscapes for more than 20 years. Villani Landshapers specializes in landscape design build, retaining walls, outdoor living spaces, and so much more. Request your free consultation today and check out their gallery of residential work at villani-landshapers.com.
From the host of the popular podcast, The Only One in the Room, Stash by Laura Cathcart-Robbins is a propulsive and vivid memoir about the journey to sobriety and self-love amidst addiction, privilege, racism, and self-sabotage. Best-selling author Holly Whitaker calls it an irresistibly delicious story, and MacArthur Foundation fellow and best-selling author Kiese Lehman says Stash is emotionally riveting. Buy Stash by Laura Cathcart-Robbins now, wherever books are sold.
As if the McCrispy couldn't get any better, Bacon and Ranch just entered the chat. The Bacon Ranch McCrispy, available at participating McDonald's for a limited time. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba.
And this is, yes, where he gets the vision.
Okay, of like the past murders again.
Yeah, and of Ghost Guy. So we're getting Declan.
Killing the children.
And he's, killing. And Cliff. Also, they're getting some, I think, visions of Cliff killing people too.
That's, I think after that, that's because this is when the witch is having the vision, right?
Oh, I don't know.
Hannah.
Oh, the witch gets, okay. Well, mine says the witch gets a vision of Ghost Guy and Cliff killing everyone.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because the one that Cliff was having was just of the past murder.
Oh, yeah. And that was earlier. But now, yes, Hannah is seeing that.
Because he has two. He has one where he's like kills the Santa guy, and then he has one where it shows the little girl, remember? The little kid baby that the dude killed. But we have her having a vision now because she does see Cliff standing over there while he's getting like rubbed down by Mrs. Mandix.
Yes.
And she like is seeing all this. She comes to out of it. And that's whenever I guess it just goes to this. Well, and then there's the counselor with the sign situation, Counselor Mandix, and he's like putting the.
Yeah. And so he's like kind of grunting a lot.
As she's hugging him. It goes on for quite a while, honestly.
It does.
But
it really does.
There's nothing really too funny about it.
And then that's when the twins
come up. Yes, that's true. And that's whenever they kind of look at them and like, oh my God, you came. And then they go to them and they're like, what are your names again?
and they're like, what do you mean? They were like, what do you mean you don't even know their name, like our names? And she said, there's just so many. And they were like, you got the text. There's just so many. And they were like, so many what? So many guys that we slept with.
And they would talk at the same time.
Yes.
Yeah. So
they were
very vapid.
Yes.
And so they end up saying how they're telling them how they're born again virgins, and then that's whenever
like show their little ring.
And Jody is like, "Oh my God, you got your vaginas tightened."
Yeah, you got your vag tightened.
Oh my God! And they're like, "No, they're like gave their lives to the Lord, and now they can't like have sex until they get married, essentially." And so that's whenever, and it says it in the text as well. But he obviously didn't want to, like, he was looked over all of that.
Yeah. There was apparently, it was, I guess, a very long text because there was so much more information in it. And then basically Susan comes up with this lie too that was like, oh, I think I was so drunk. Like
saved your number
wrong or something. And he was like, let me see. How'd you save it? And everything. He was like, yep. And then it says bad at fucking.
Yeah.
And so
poor guy. Even Jody's like womp womp womp.
Yeah, they put bad at fucking next Cliff's name.
And then it cuts to Cliff's face, just like making this face after they're like, do you want to get baptized
again? Yeah.
After the party? And it just cuts to his face, and then it just like stays there, and it fades away into like
another shot of like
the day or something. Yeah,
of the scenery and stuff.
It's I thought it was pretty funny. But they're walking away because essentially I guess they were going to leave. But then Cliff is hearing these voices again.
And we've got now a blue Declan.
Yes.
He switched from green ghost to blue ghost.
He's talking to Jody, and he's telling him like, you didn't see what I saw. Susan was giving me like sexual gestures, and they really just want us to say, but we have to wait till like after the party, after their parents asleep, and then we can bone them is what he's trying to say. But it's all just basically Declan influencing
being fed to him. He was so clearly repeating
everything that Declan is saying. Yeah,
it was like if someone had a little microphone in their ear and they're being told what to say.
Yeah,
where they pause, and then almost whenever they're saying like they start talking to someone else, and then they end up saying the like pause here kind of thing, and then it could have gone wrong so quickly.
Very punked. And so that's whenever he ends up telling Jody, like, go back to the camp. I'm going to go get some rubbers from the car.
We will need them for our penises.
Yes. And then Jody's like, get as many, get all of them. And then he runs off. And
we're going to have sex at a Bible camp.
He's going to secure a cabin for them. And then we cut to, I guess, a dude popping up out of nowhere behind Cliff, and he's going to the Swagger party. I guess he's one of the other dudes who got the text.
He has a surfboard.
Oh, he says that Susan paid him to go. That's right. To act like he was born again or whatever.
Yeah.
And so that's whenever.
So clearly she remembered his name too.
And then he calls her a slut or something like that. And that's whenever.
A skank.
And he's
like, don't call. This is the second time because I think Cliff or Jody had called her a skank, and he like freaked out on him back then. His eyes went white and stuff, and then now he's doing it again, and this is the scene we talked about earlier where he
ends up ripping his dick off,
just and then shoves it in his mouth,
own throat, not his own, but like the dude that he ripped it off
surfer dude's throat,
and he starts drinking his blood from like his
coming from the
penis area.
Now
that it's just a hole there, but it's like it obviously looks like something else because he's just on his knees, just like taking this blood.
Yeah.
It's a lot of sexual innuendos going on here. And then that's whenever we cut to, I guess, Jody at the party, and he sees that people are do what's a conga line, right? And that's when he's like,
and
okay.
Oh, you came back. And they're like, do you want to be saved? And he was like, yes, we both want to be saved
really
real
hard.
Bad.
Yeah. And so
real hard,
he's also talking to I guess he's trying to ask about the cabins essentially. And that's whenever the counselor is like, well, you have to be a what's it called? A camper. Yeah, you have to pay essentially. And then he just kind of takes him away from that, and he's like, how do you, because he's like, he asked him, how do I become a camper? And then he like whispers something in his ear, but we don't ever really know.
We don't know.
And he's like, no fucking way. And then they like walk off, and the counselor, Mad Dix, what is his name? Mandix. He starts introducing him to all of the other, like, I guess, camper staff.
We get
the camp staff.
Was it Alan or Aaron?
Aaron, okay. Who is like, I guess, the kitchen cook.
Yes, he's the new chef guy, and he used to be addicted to European pornography.
We do get that information about him.
Yes.
And then we have
Father
Bottoms. We also meet Roberto before that, I think.
Oh, yeah.
And they have this like little homoerotic. The whole time you're supposed to think like Counselor Mandix is pretty much gay.
Yeah.
But he's like trying to live like a Christian lifestyle. And then we have, because I love how he tells Roberto, he's like, yeah, you got to keep pumping to earn his grace. And then we cut to him meeting Father Bottoms. You're right.
He's like,
and he's really
long.
weird.
I don't like that. And he was like, well, Roberto's hair was long. And he was like, but he has a beard like Christ.
Yeah.
And he said, like, what if I shave off everything but my sideburns? He was like, I don't know. I'll pray on this.
Yes. And then he also, that's whenever the counselor tells Father Bottoms, he's like, you shouldn't have baptized my daughters without my permission or me being there. And he's like, you can't be around the campers alone. Yeah, which was like very weird. Yeah. Giving pedophile vibes.
Yes.
And so then we have the mom looking for Cliff.
And he also had said something about like, do you want me to tell Thornton? And I was like, who the fuck is Thornton?
I think it was that officer guy.
Oh.
But I don't know.
Yeah.
I have no idea. Or maybe Thornton was that dude that was sitting in the room who had who ends up
probably
later on, because I never got a name for him.
It was him.
Maybe. And so mom's looking for Cliff. She gets told that he's in the restroom, so she's like, oh, I gotta go use the restroom. She goes, and so then we have Cliff is in the woods though, not in there, not using the restroom because Jody's just lying.
Yeah, he's just like, I don't know, he's got IBS. He can't tell the mom, oh, he's looking to get rubber so we can fuck your daughters.
And so we have Jody then is like, the counselor, Mandix, why do I keep wanting to call him Maddox? Mandix is,
this is where I finally realized that his sweater was a reindeer and not a giant dick.
I never noticed that.
Yeah. It has like two little antlers and stuff. I thought it was just a really large dick going down.
Honestly, never really noticed on his part because he didn't at one point have something covering or something. Or I don't know. Or maybe it was, I don't even know, but I never really noticed. And so that's whenever we have Jody like being with the girls with that water bottle, and then counselor's like, let's bill Jody for that water bottle if he doesn't sign up to be a camper. And then we have this guy named Ernie calling Mandix, and it's just really weird because they're talking and he wants to like come to the party. Yeah, it's really like late introduction of a character. He's brand new, and then he's like wants to come to the party, and Mandix is like, no, you can't come. And I guess he was the old groundskeeper.
Yeah,
and he like wants some type of help because like this evil rock music is getting to him, and he wants to be helped. And that's whenever the Mandix is like, you can't come get help. You can't get helped here.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
And all the while it's cutting between another scene. This is one of the other parts where it just keeps kind of going back and forth. Though earlier, after Jody had killed that first guy, it also had flashed back to him, or after Cliff had killed that first guy.
Yeah.
Flashback to him, and he says 2 more, then we are complete.
That's right.
So we get this kind of idea that he has to kill 3 people in order to complete this transformation, because we see one glove kind of take over his hand.
Yeah.
But after it switches from Ernie, the old groundskeeper, we switch to Sean, and she's like, my name is Sean, and then Sean.
SHAWN.
That's right.
Yeah.
And
Sean is gay.
Sean is definitely gay.
But he's trying to marry the other Sean. And Jody's just asking them like these questions, getting to know them. And even he's just kind of like, oh, Jesus Christ.
Yep. And then now it flashes back again to Ernie.
Yeah.
And it's just the heavy metal music is what's like, he's like, it helps me cut the grass. And he says that this is when Counselor Mandix says that music helps no one but the devil himself. And then it flashes, I think,
back to the couple.
Yeah. And it's
One
just
more
like,
time.
what is going on?
And even the guy is like, I know God gave me an Audi to put in her innie.
Yep. He says, I wish she could get pregnant from a sweet kiss.
Yeah.
Or something.
Sweet soft kiss.
Because he also said something, I have an issue with the women's genitalia lips or something.
Yeah.
And I was like, ew.
The way he said it.
It was so weird.
And so we have it cutting back to Ernie, and that rock music is going on. He finally hangs up with the camp counselor, and then we see like a holy water bomb, essentially. I don't know what
it
it
was like a vat. I don't know. It almost
said
looked like,
holy water.
what they brew beer in and
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah, it did, didn't it?
Yeah.
And he's like got this board with like equations on it, and he's essentially, I guess, trying to make some sort of weapon. We figure out later
then
on.
all the
But
heavy
at this
metal
moment,
people start, because mind you, when the heavy metal music starts playing,
he's like losing his mind as well.
Because it was on the computer screen, but then now they're actually here in
the room.
person.
Yeah, a whole live band just playing. It's almost a whole song.
Yes.
Yeah.
And they start like saying, well, they ruined my life whenever I lost my job, and they say ruin their lives.
Yeah.
And then they all start chanting, build, build, build.
Build. All in unison, yeah.
Yes.
Bill Nye the Science Guy. Bill Nye the Science Guy. And so then we have this whole. It just lasts forever, to be honest. Like the whole.
It's just a music video. Put in.
It's like heavy rock. You know.
And this is the first time I put so much of this movie is not necessary.
Yeah.
Also, he looks like a Walmart Adam Sandler.
I can see that. He really did.
Have you seen that thing where there's like a Facebook group for
people who look like Adam Sandler? Yeah, I saw
really
it.
do.
There's a lot of doppelgangers out there.
Yeah.
I wonder who looks exactly like me.
People always say they see me driving around town, and I'm like, no.
That ain't me.
I was home.
Oh, and specifically your car is so specific.
Yeah,
though.
my car's they were like, oh, were you driving this way the other day? And I was like, no.
Nope. And so it cuts back to Mandix back at the counselor. The counselor Mandix back at the camp. Why did I say counselor? Back at the camp. I'm talking like his wife, because his wife had a very Jersey accent.
She
lost it.
Did.
Yeah. Like as I'm talking about it, it went away. But yeah, he's announcing that there's going to be games. And so everybody's like, woo. And then he's making really weird, like, let's show Jody how talented
we
no,
are.
I thought it was talented.
And show God how powerful we are.
And so that's whenever,
it's time for the Mandix Mambo.
Oh, and at this point, what's his face throws the axe behind him at a certain point.
Yeah,
and
he'd done that earlier while they were, while he was showing Jody around the camp. And
because at this point, Cliff finds it.
He goes to like wash his face in the
drinking out of the blood.
Baptismal scene thing. And then he just like conveniently finds the axe.
Very convenient.
And then we're back with the detective.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
And this is where he really looks like he didn't make it far.
Really
I was
rough,
like, sir, you were in the same exact spot that you were in like 2 seconds ago.
And then it cuts back to, I guess, the
we're getting the actual
the mambo. Yeah, the mambo's happening,
mambo.
and it's like a whole thing, like actual song.
Yeah, choreographed like dance,
Yeah.
and it's about Jesus and stuff.
Yeah.
And then Hannah's,
it's like the Mambo number 5, but like in the style of Jesus.
Pure.
Yeah, which is really weird. And then we have Hannah trying to get Jody's attention with like a mirror and like reflecting the sun.
Yeah. And he's like, fuck this shit. And he moves to another spot. And she's like, God damn it.
Yeah. And then at another point,
he immediately falls asleep.
He does,
somehow. And I was like, how are you sleeping in this situation, sir?
And then at that point, that's whenever Cliff is behind him and he's got the axe and he starts running up on him. And then I think it's Sister Nips who's like, oh my God, he's got an axe.
Yeah.
Or with Sean, someone said
it.
And then they like start running around like crazy. And then
I think
he
it was
almost,
Sean, the other person.
yeah, the girl Sean, yeah. And he almost gets Jody. But at that point, I think it was, who was it, Hannah or someone?
Yeah, I think Hannah stops him. And then that's whenever Cliff looks at Jody and is like, kill me, please.
Mm-hmm.
And then all of a sudden,
like time resets.
Poof. We're back at whenever Jody was walking into the party and he had said, whoa, this party started fast.
Mm-hmm.
And
even he notices, he's like, whoa, he's like, that's
wait.
weird. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, at first I thought maybe that the computer had like reset and then I was somehow back. I was like, fuck, did I just lose my spot in the movie?
Yeah, same. I was like, what is happening? Because the way he just ends up there and it's like there's no segue. It's just like, really cuts to. And I honestly,
like, God damn it, I hit a button somehow.
I thought it was a repeat somehow, I guess, but then it gets explained. Anyways, that's whenever, because at this point Hannah's trying to get Jody's attention with the light, but he still does. He puts on the sunglasses. And then she's like, fuck. And so she grabs a rock and she just throws it at him.
She looks at a pine cone first.
That's right.
Then picks up the rock and just fucking chunks it. But this bitch was like 5 feet away.
She could have just been like, hey.
She should.
This was an actually legit funny moment. I laughed
I did
out
too,
loud
because the way that the rock like thud against his body,
it hurt him. And then she was
funny.
Just literally the way like it cuts from her to him and then to the whole scene, and she's like literally right there next to him.
She's like she's behind the tree that is the closest to him.
And then she's just like, come on over here, dumbass, or something like that. And so that's whenever we're back with the rock band and Ernie again. Something's still going on.
Yeah, I couldn't even tell what was going on. I was just, is this another random heavy metal scene?
I think he's still building the thing he's building.
He was building, but it was not very
It wasn't clear. Yeah.
Yes.
And then it cuts back
not following their PowerPoint.
Essentially. And then it was back to Jody and Hannah, and they're like in a basement-ish looking to me, but maybe it's just a cabin. I don't know.
And she's so matter-of-factly is like, your friend is being possessed by
she knows everything.
The evil in his sweater.
Yeah.
And he immediately, Jody's like, now that I can buy.
Yeah, that's true. I thought it was hilarious.
I was like, this is where at first Jody's character annoyed the fuck out of me. And I think it was because of the starting with the pube shaving and putting his foot in cereal and stuff. I was like, I
ended up liking his character.
Yes, I did too.
Yeah, he was pretty funny.
That was what I said
Him
earlier.
and Hannah were hilarious, honestly.
I liked
Hannah's whole character was really funny.
All of her, the way that they panned in on her face for some of the visions, very like, that's so Raven.
Yeah.
But bad.
Because at this point we get her also explaining that the evil entity is affecting time.
Yes.
And it's not like repeating. It is essentially speeding up time.
It's pushing it forward, but it's fogging their minds.
And yet Jody keeps ending up at the same spot every time, also with Hannah, but yet because he is so close to Cliff, it's not affecting him, and that's why
he has his memory.
And Hannah has it. She's like, I'm sensitive and I'm psychic, which is really funny because then he's like, I've always thought I was psychic, and she's like, you're not sensitive at all. And so that's whenever they start talking about, Ernie is still building something because it's cutting back to him as well this whole time.
Also, whenever she blew the wood shavings in his eye,
yes,
that also made me laugh a lot. I don't know why.
The whole time she's kind of a bitch to Jody, which is really funny.
Sitting there like carving this yardstick.
That's because she's going to use it like a crossbow.
Jody's one-liners later on. And she was like, it didn't fly straight. And he was like, well, no, duh, bitch. It's a yardstick.
She looked so disappointed. She was like, oh. That part was really funny too.
He was very self-aware, which is like most of our leads in a horror film are not. And so it was very refreshing because he was just like, what the fuck is happening?
And
it was good.
He very much was the likeness to the movie.
Yes.
When everything else is kind of like, everyone else is kind of taking things more seriously.
And he's just making a joke out of everything.
Yeah. And so it then cuts to nighttime and we have them doing the limbo. It's party in the camp house, essentially. Jody is looking and Hannah are looking for Cliff out in the woods.
And they're like, we're going to have to take it off of, or we're going to have to kill him. And he was like, why don't we just take it off of him?
Yeah.
And it's like, oh,
and she's like, oh yeah. And she's also like, the sweater wants blood.
Yeah.
To transition.
To fulfill its evil transformation. And he goes, into what? A blouse?
That's funny. And that's whenever it cuts to Father Bottoms, like, is missing, right?
Yeah. She was like, who's missing from this group?
Because she's saying that the evil is not going to come to it. He's going to make
it already made the mistake of showing itself to everyone once.
Yeah.
It's not going to do it again. It's going to pick its victims off.
One by one.
And then she was like, Father Bottoms, I had a vision of him dying in the baptismal springs earlier. And then Jody's like, we're just going there now?
Yeah. Because he's like, when did you have this vision? Yeah. And so that's whenever we do cut to the party as well. Whenever counselor what's his name? Mandix is riding Roberto. like a cowboy, not like, like on a piggyback style.
Yeah.
And then that's whenever the wife is like, Roberto, I'm so sick and tired of it. And she walks off and it gets really quiet. And then he's just like, she'll get over it. Yeah. And everybody's like, woo, and parties again. I thought it was so hilarious.
Dad is clearly obsessed with Roberto.
Yeah.
And mom is mad and drinking in the bathroom now.
Because she goes over there, and that's whenever we do see Cliff coming in, and he starts talking to her, and he's like, he's like, can I trade you some of that booze for this? And just pulls out a penis.
A dick.
But it would look very much like a dildo or something.
Yes,
like a fake. It was very fake.
Long.
Yeah.
And then very rubbery.
Yeah. The way like we get a POV from behind.
Shake them like this, and they're like, blah, blah, blah.
Like a pencil.
That was what it was doing.
And the POV is from like underneath him, but from behind.
Yes.
And you also still see her. Yeah.
It was actually a pretty good shot.
It's a pretty cool shot. Yeah. It's pretty artistic if you think about it.
It was.
And so
I was like, man, that would have been a good porn.
That's probably the European porn is like that.
Yes.
Yeah. That Aaron was watching. And so that's whenever it cuts away, and we cut to Hannah and Jody finding Father Bottoms in the water, and they're like, oh my God, he's dead. But he's not, because he pops up and he's like, I dropped my wallet. Have you seen my wallet? I had it here earlier. And that's whenever they're like, it was a false vision. And so the evil implanted it so that way he would get like on a false trail. So
the way he was looking for his wallet though too, because when they walked up he was not moving.
No.
So that means that he was just sitting there like
in the water, just like eyes open,
trying to scan the water. And that idea to me is very funny.
Like a dead fish.
Why is this movie becoming so funny now?
It is.
Talking back through it and not with being embarrassed with people watching me.
There's a lot of cringe moments, that's all.
Yes.
I was laughing, but I was also in the comfort of my own bedroom. And the whole time I'm thinking like, this is trash. This is really bad. But this is really, really bad. But I'm still laughing.
Yeah.
And so, and maybe essentially it wasn't necessarily, you know what? Like, the script wasn't that bad. It was just maybe more so all the editing. I don't know.
Editing did make it so terrible.
It was just so bad. It was just like $5. Like
$5 budget. They were very funny.
Actually, there's a lot of bad script moments, but still.
Like, oh, did we watch the same movie?
All of our opinions aside, it's like it was so bad it's good, just cringe. I mean, it was. There are, like we said, I think they're in on the joke, so I feel like essentially it's just kind of funny-ish.
Yeah.
But then I don't know. I'm gonna stop because I'm going on a tangent. But we do get to
we flash back to Mom and Cliff,
and because she's like, I know a spot. And they went to like this cabin in a bedroom, and even like the father's the Lord's Supper prayer. I don't know, something's up on the wall. It's like right behind him, and she comes in and she's just like talking sexy, I guess, to him, like very playing like a mommy.
Yes, there's some definite mommy play.
Yeah.
Because she was saying like, I want to see the nipples and stuff, and she was like, make them wet for mommy, or make them hard for mommy or something. And then this was where he then was like doing it through the sweater, but then she was like, let me like see them take the sweater off.
Because he wants to take it off, but he can't because
the sweater won't let him go.
It won't let him. And he's still lucid at this point. He's like, no, we're trying to like do it. I don't want to kill her.
I won't hurt her. And she was like, no, you can hurt me. She was so ready.
And she's like, oh, is this a game? Let me help you. And so she tries to take it off. And when she does, he has like all this, it looks like lesions and like sliminess going on underneath it. It's kind of weird.
Like I
thought like leeches were on him for a whole minute.
Yeah.
But like clear leeches. I don't know.
Clear leeches. It was a bunch of like ringworm that got staph infection.
That also had like poison ivy.
Yeah.
That looked like it had been
rubbed in aloe vera from an actual aloe vera plant because it's clear.
That's true. That's what it did look like. It looks snotty and slimy and gross.
It was really gross.
And she's freaking out. And that's whenever he ends up killing her.
Weird alien tentacles come out of him.
Oh, that's right.
And they stab the mom. They come out from either side of him and just right through her tummy.
And then as that's happening, everyone, because they hear her screaming, obviously. And so they end up all outside. And that's whenever they're looking for like what's happening. But then Cliff just runs up on them and he's like, you've got to kill me. You got to please kill me.
Mandix is like, is that my wife's blood?
Yeah.
Which was like...
Like, how would you know? And then that's whenever Jody is like, I can't kill you. And then Hannah just is like, I will, and hops in. And then that's whenever she uses her crossbow, but she fucking misses and it hits Aaron.
Yeah.
And Aaron's like, you fucking witch.
And then this is where she says, it didn't fly straight. And Jody says, yeah, it's a fucking yardstick.
And she was so disappointed.
And then flashback to
time reset again.
Wow, they got this party started fast or whatever.
Yeah. And then he's like, oh shit. And then Hannah walks up and then he's like, nice shot, Hannah.
Yeah. And she's like, shut up.
Yeah.
And then this is where we see, I was like, there's a lot more people here.
Yeah.
Now.
So apparently they were joined by Camp
Sakamaltha.
And so even Hannah's like, there's twice as many people to kill now. And then it cuts to like, we see Roberto arm wrestling with some other dude and the counselors, you know,
both of the counselors
they're both being
apparently
very
gay.
Yeah.
And they're just fondling
the dudes.
These arm wrestling guys.
Who were very strong.
They were. And the one was
muscles.
like, are we going to arm wrestle or not?
And they're like, yeah. And so we do have Cliff then watching, I believe, Susan at one point because they're like playing like tug of war,
yeah.
and he has one eye white. So you can tell that like half the like transition is being almost there. It's almost completed.
It is coming to fruition.
And then we see the cop wake up. We're like, oh yeah, he's back up again.
And more heavy metal at some point too.
Yeah, it's all kind of mixed in there together. And then we find out that
that's because the groundskeeper is driving in now.
That's right.
He was in the car. And so he's driving in.
We find out that the twins also have herpes.
Yes. And
Hannah tells that Jody.
Hannah's making an arrow or something. And Jody's like, are you seriously making another arrow right now? Like, what the fuck? Oh, yeah. And then whenever we do see the detective, the fucking bust of Satan was all sudden on the side of the road. And it had the bow stuck to it too, didn't it?
On like a whole thing, like a pedestal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was just there, and then that was when the detective goes, fuck you, Declan.
And he gets up and he starts walking. So he's going to make his way to the party. Also, like you said, Ernie was on his way to the party. And then,
yeah, we were talking about that's when Hannah says that the twins have herpes.
And Jody has herpes.
We were watching them pull on the rope and stuff, and Susan or Samantha, one of them was yelling like, it's not thick enough. And he was like, look at that grip.
Yeah. And that's whenever we do cut to then all the rest of the campers like playing volleyball, right? And they're doing their thing. And then that's whenever we have fucking...
and Hannah promised Cliff, if you kill... Jody, if you kill Cliff, I'll heal your herpes.
Because she's a witch.
And he asked like, give me some Eye of Newt or something like that. But yes, anyway, sorry.
No, you're good. We cut to the campers, they're playing and stuff, but then we do have Ernie finally showing up and he has this fucking laser gun. And at first I'm thinking, oh, is he going to be like some type of Ghostbuster? Is he here to like try to save? No, he starts shooting the campers.
Everyone.
And we get this whole scene of everyone getting shot and it's kind of a little goofy and like not rendered that well.
There was,
but it wasn't that bad, if I'll say. It just wasn't that good either.
But when female Sean, when her head blew off, it like went sideways and then it just, the way it's spattered was so silly.
All over the screen.
Yeah.
Very fake, obviously. Reminds me like the Thanksgiving-ish almost, like the head popping off.
And this is where Sister Nips dies. And that's when we hear her name for the first time because... other arm wrestling guy that's not Roberto yells, Sister Nips.
When it wasn't even, she didn't get shot by the laser. Remember, it was
she got shot by Jody
because he accidentally let go of the arrow because he took it from Hannah and was like, let me take that before you kill someone else.
Yep.
And so then he's like, oh shit. And so at this point they've both killed two campers or workers, and then that's whenever Ernie's just going on this rampage.
He's killing everybody. Roberto's dead.
Yeah,
but he didn't get killed by...
No, he got killed by the...
Thornton,
and he got shot up by accident because Thornton was trying to hit Ernie. And then after all of this shit, we do have...
that one guy hiding behind the pole.
Yeah.
Too. It was such a thin pole.
He's going like left and right. It was hilarious.
And then he just like waited, and I was like, bitch, you are hiding behind a pole. He could shoot you.
Literally at this point...
Why are you moving?
Everybody's getting shot. And then we have the...
and Mandix uses Father Bottom.
Oh, yeah, as a shield. That's right.
Without any hesitation. He was like, get here.
And then Ernie's even, that's not fair. You're not supposed to use cover.
Yep.
And so that's whenever we have him hiding behind a picnic table. He sees the other camp counselor leader getting about to get killed. And he's just like, thank God or something like that because he doesn't like him or whatever.
He's like, I can see God is within you.
Yeah.
Or something. He's like, fuck you.
And then after that, we do have...
And detective guy got shot.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
And
It's all a blur. It's all happening so fast. And then that's whenever Cliff does come up and actually end up whacking Ernie on the back of the head and then kills him with the fucking shovel.
Into tummy.
Because also at this whole point, I'm thinking like, what is this whole side plot? Because like...
What the fuck does
Ernie just comes and start killing everybody off. And even Declan, like the ghost is like, fuck, like this is ruining my plans.
If I don't get to kill this third person, I don't get to come back.
Yeah.
But Ernie was the third person.
Yeah.
So now the transformation
is about to
complete.
happen because that's whenever even the camp counselor dude Mandix, it's like your registration fee has been waived, Cliff,
because of this.
And then
he picks up the shovel
and starts licking all the blood off of it. And then even the counselor Mandix is like, well, that's a little strange. That's
a little
weird.
Different. And then Samantha's like, is that like communion?
Yeah. And then we have the transformation happening,
which at first looked so promising when the burlap like started wrapping around his face. I was like, oh damn. This actually looks really cool.
I might have just even preferred that without having an actual face. Yeah.
I think that would have been perfect.
Because
but then it like
it turns into like this like squirrelish type of looking face.
Yeah.
And then he's like, I am sweater face.
I am sweater face.
Which was weird because I thought he was just going to turn into Mandix. I mean, Declan the whole time.
Yeah, I thought he was
and
too.
then we turn into this like deity type of thing.
I'm sorry, but his face was not even a sweater.
It wasn't.
It was a skull.
Yeah.
And then this is where Samantha's like, that's really not that special.
Yeah.
Name.
Because then he starts wrapping around with his little long tentacles or whatever they are around the counselor and his daughters. And then we have someone coming up to try to attack him. I don't even remember, but he starts spewing like acid spit on him.
One of them.
Yeah. And his face starts burning off. And that's whenever we do have him telling them like join me or die.
Yeah.
Essentially, he wants them to praise Satan.
Switch religions.
They're like, oh
fast. They're like, hail Satan.
Yeah, because he's just like, you'll have to denounce your God, and they're like, oh yeah, well, I mean, we can do that.
I can do that easy enough.
And so he does start converting them. And at the same time, I believe we do have Jody
getting shot down.
Oh yes, he had gotten shot down. Oh, because he tries to kiss her, and she's like it's almost a moment, but then he starts sticking his tongue out, and she like backs away. Yeah. I think he might have ruined the moment. She might have let him if he wouldn't have stuck the tongue out. And then that's whenever we do have the sweater face like talking to them. He's converting them, and then he's also telling the rockers to go away. He's like, no pussies allowed. And then just like defeated. And we have him throwing the fucking laser beam like into the water.
Right before
as they were saying, we need the laser beam to defeat
Hannah
him.
and Jody were like, oh, the laser beam that's like our only chance. And then of course he's like, now we got to get rid of this. Throws it right in the water. And I was like, well, good. Of course.
Yeah. And so that is...
and this is when she's sending him to go get it.
And he's like, I don't want to get in that water. And he's like, use your vision power to like see if it's okay and it's clear. And she does, but it shows Aaron earlier like had like taken a shit in it, which was really gross.
It was like projectile shit.
It was diarrhea. It was really gross.
Shooting from his butthole.
It was unnecessary.
Like a chocolate fountain.
And so then she's just like, it's fine. It's fine. Go in there. It's okay. Totally good. And he starts taking all of his clothes off because he doesn't want to ruin his clothes. They're expensive.
These are expensive.
And he has these like almost thong like underwear.
Yeah, they were like little
panties.
Yeah, they were
like little
cheeky briefs.
Yeah, because and one of the
or
like
bikini.
One of the sides is like pulled off onto his crack, so like you see half of his cheek sticking out. And he's getting into the water. He's getting the fucking thing. He gets it out, and as they're trying to make sure that like they can use it, or no, before, and he does go in there to grab it, my bad, but then it cuts to the twins and they're finally getting baptized in the darkness, which is just
from the weird
tentacle thing, and it's just like once again that
motor
same
oil
stuff on them. And then it goes to the dad wanting some, and he's like,
I think it's dry.
And he's like, none for you.
None for you.
Very Glen Coco.
It's so funny.
Yeah. And then he's just like, what? Why? And he's like, because there must be a sacrifice. And so the girls end up having to like kill their dad.
Yep.
And while they're killing their dad, the dad has this like strange like
vision,
or like is it his heaven? I don't know, that he ends up like in the
shower fucking Roberto.
Yeah, essentially. And then that's whenever we do have them cutting to Jody, Hannah. They're in the woods. They have the laser gun, but it's not working because it's still wet. And she's like, we just gotta have to let it dry.
Yeah.
And so
she keeps asking for it. I love the way that Jody was like, this is my laser cannon now.
I went in to grab it.
I went in to get it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then it cuts to Sweaterface then saying like seek or something like that. And so he's essentially using his evil powers to like find them, and he does see them. And he ends up sending
Samantha and
Susan. And there was one more guy that popped up, I thought.
Oh, well, the surfer dude popped up.
That's what it was.
Because right as fucking somehow Hannah was like, oh, that's fine, we'll just use this instead. As they were walking and like in stride, she picks up this fucking knife from the ground.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, bitch, how did you see that?
Literally.
But then right after that, surfer dude pops up.
And then it's Samantha. And then that's whenever they kind of get into an altercation. But then Samantha ends up,
I'm bored again.
Yeah, and she ends up like she grabs him and she teleports with him.
I was like,
and I'm like, what the fuck?
On?
Even when he comes to, he's like, what the fuck? Did you just get teleported?
Yeah.
And it's very like, dude, where's my car?
Yeah.
And so then we have him getting teleported there. We do have Hannah then getting teleported here after him in just a second. And
by Susan.
He does see that it's Sweaterface. Sweaterface is like commanding them to kill them. That's right. But then
he's like, kill him first.
The gun does dry enough and it like activates, and he shoots her in the foot, and then he kills her with the laser gun.
He looks at her and says, take my load, you demon skank.
Yeah. And
which is like, that's a pretty good
obliterated.
Pretty good line.
And then it cuts to him shooting Susan, who was holding Hannah. And then he ends up getting her, which was also very close to Hannah, to be honest. He could have killed her. I thought he honestly was about to kill her.
Yeah.
And then they're both killed, but then Sweaterface ends up with the tentacles grabbing Hannah.
Of course, because she's standing right in front of the little hole door that he went into. And so I was like, okay.
And so he's taking her, he ends up like farting in her face
with like, the tentacles.
It's really gross.
He was like, smell.
Yeah. And then as he's doing that, Jody is trying to shoot at Sweaterface with the laser gun.
But it's not doing anything.
And that's whenever we're kind of getting Hannah having a vision of the officer, and he's like, his balls. Or his balls.
Yeah, he just keeps saying his balls.
His balls. And she tells Jody, shoot him in the balls.
Yeah. At first she goes, his balls. And Jody's like, what?
Yeah.
She's like, shoot him in the balls.
And he does this whole like Mission Impossible like roll around and like gets to like, and he starts aiming at his balls.
Like, we need more power.
And he like cranks it up and he starts shooting him in the balls so much that it ends up like separating Cliff and the sweater.
Yeah. And Cliff is freed, and now he's covered in that weird aloe vera.
And he's just like naked. Like it looks very like, paint me like one of your French women. Like he looks like, the way she was like holding him.
Just like shed his skin, came out of a
molted.
Cocoon.
Yeah, that could be it too.
Was it that stuff like ultrasound jelly too that they put on your
very
belly?
Thick and cold.
Yeah, he looked like he was covered in that.
And so that's whenever he's saved. He somehow has clothes back on, and then that's whenever
we get this lovely shot of Declan
just
in the sky
obliterating.
Going, fuck.
And then we have what's his face, Jody asking Hannah to remove the herpes, and she's like, you don't have herpes.
He was like, you're a warlock with tits.
Yeah, he's like,
she's like, I'm not a witch. He was like, warlock with tits, whatever. Like,
just fix it. And then she's like, you don't have it. And he's like, oh, that's it. That was so fast. And she's like, you never did. And then he's like, why would you tell me that? And she's like, because I was jealous of all the attention you're giving Samantha. And he's like, really? And she's like, no, I was just using you.
She was like, the girls got herpes a month ago from screwing the same teacher.
Yeah.
All the while Cliff is looking over Susan's body because he was about to kiss her.
And then he's like, no, stop. She's got herpes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, but while they're having that herpes talk, Jody and Hannah,
Cliff is realizing Susan
disappears.
Yeah.
She's just like gone. And then I guess they also see that
the sweater disappeared.
Aaron is gone. Yeah.
And then
stuff too.
Aaron is like, he's like, it's mine, and runs off.
And then it ends with shit from all three of them.
So
roll credits.
Essentially, you have to go kill someone else, or just hopefully leave it and just let it be.
I mean, they know how to defeat him now.
Yep. So I will give this movie, I'm just going to go right into it.
Okay.
Solid 2.
2.
That's a 2. It made me laugh. It wasn't quite terrible, but it wasn't that great.
It was not that
but great. All in all, it fit the theme of Christmas time.
It did.
So it worked. And I wouldn't recommend it to anybody. I watched it and I'm better for it, I guess.
Where'd you watch it? Did you watch it on Amazon
Prime? I rented this hoe for $2.99.
$2.99. Yep, me too.
It's only an hour and 20 minutes, honestly. So it's not like it's like it did it. I can't be mad. Like honestly,
it did feel like
what
it was
else
dragging
would
on,
I have done for the hour? Yeah, it was a long 120.
Yes.
It was.
I was like, when is this gonna end?
Yeah, it could have been just an hour.
Yeah.
Like I said earlier, but yeah, that's what I would give it. Just a solid 2. What do you think you'd give it?
Yeah.
A
Same.
2.
I was laughing a lot more now going through it. I did like Jody's character a lot.
Yeah. And Hannah was my favorite character.
Yeah, she was funny too.
They worked well, like off of each
banter,
other. Yeah.
And then the overall plot was interesting.
It's a little weak.
Yeah,
honestly.
but it's not very. There were so many, like Ernie, his entire existence is like
that didn't need to be.
Fuck?
That didn't need to happen.
No.
And honestly, if that whole storyline would have been taken out, it would have been probably an hour.
Yep.
Because I was like all those extra moments with him, and I'm just like, what is even happening? And then he just comes and shoots everybody up. I'm like, it had nothing to do with it. It didn't advance anything, and it was basically just ruining the plot that was already happening.
Yeah.
So
Had that not happened, it would have probably been better.
Everything would have occurred still the same as well if he just would have killed one more thing.
But I guess they just wouldn't have had the laser gun.
That's true.
Which
they did kind of need to have a laser gun, but they could have found another way to like.
I'm sure they could have just like
busted
axed his balls. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'll go with the 2. It was interesting. I also would not recommend it. Like I said,
like also,
midway, I was going to text someone and say, oh my God, watch this movie. And then I was like, no.
But also maybe if you like got really high or were stoned and like we're watching this
then it'd be
with
enjoyable.
a friend, maybe it would be okay.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, I also just be safe. Be careful of who you watch around. Because it's just pretty cringe, and someone would probably judge you for watching this.
Definitely don't watch this movie with your parents.
Yeah, no, don't.
There's a lot of
sexual innuendos and crudeness that it would just make it awkward.
It just is like,
unless you're that comfy with your parents, I'm definitely not. But yeah. That would be what is the name of this movie?
Ugly Sweater Party.
Ugly Sweater Party.
I almost said it wrong. I almost said Ugly
Christmas
Party.
I was like, because look how I have it in my notes too, unfortunately, because I wrote it so fast.
Party? I don't know.
I wrote it so fast. No, I put Ugly Christmas Sweater. So many notes too. Ugly Christmas Sweater.
Ugly Christmas Sweater. Ugly Sweater Party.
Ugly Sweater Party 2018. 2 stars. 2 boos, sorry, from your BooBaes.
2 solid boos. That's right.
Yeah.
And this is Christmas is almost here. Or did Christmas just happen? Christmas is almost here.
Yep. And so we just kind of wanted to cover something that was in the vein of Christmas. We kind of already did. I feel like there's so many more that we need to do. Mm-hmm. I feel like, but we'll save them for next year. So that'll work because like we still need to do like Black Christmas, right?
Oh yeah.
And then like there's a couple other ones that I know that might be good that are more recent that probably would be better than
yeah,
this.
some just there was quite a few that came out this year.
Yeah. But I feel like also we've kind of been covering quite a few of like spoofy movies here recently, like very silly, which I like.
It's been fun.
Yeah, it has been fun actually. It kind of takes levity because honestly after Halloween we get so bogged down with all like the horror and stuff. It's just like it's kind of dark for a while there.
Yeah.
But
so we need shit like levity. Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
Gobble gobble, motherfucker.
And once again, we're in the lovely Rogue Media Network studios. They take really good care of us here. Thank you for sticking through with us, getting our recordings in. You can listen to our podcast and a lot of other great podcasts on the roguemedianetwork.com.
Or on a slew of podcasting platforms, the biggest 2 being
Spotify
and Apple
Podcasts.
But wherever you do listen, don't forget to
rate, review, like, and subscribe.
That's right, because that is the only way we can get ahead in this world.
Mm-hmm.
And then if you want to let us know your favorite Christmas horror flick or other holiday.
Or have any suggestions. There's a lot of holidays coming up actually as well.
Got Valentine's Day.
Easter.
President's Day.
Oh,
I want to watch a President's
Abraham
Day.
Lincoln, the vampire killer slayer, right? We could do that.
Let's watch it.
Yeah.
That's fun.
I've never seen it before, but I don't even know if that's a genuine horror movie or is it a comedy?
Yeah, I don't know either. We'll look it up.
We'll find out.
We'll see.
But if y'all have any
is this a genuine horror movie?
It's true. If y'all have any suggestions,
genuine horror,
what can they do, Caitlin?
They can reach out to us on our one social media platform, which is Instagram, and that is at
BooBaes Podcast, and that's BOOBAES because we're your BooBaes, not your BooBabes.
That's right.
And
until next time, happy Christmas, happy holidays,
and
Merry Chrysler.
Merry Chrysler. Bye, Baes.
Bye, Baes.
Oh,
This has been a Rogue Media podcast.
Are you struggling to lose weight and keep it off? Tired of wasting time and money on starvation diets that lead to more frustration and stress? If there was a weight loss solution that could actually work for you, would you try it? Then head to Golo.com.
I'm Steve. I lost 138 pounds in 9 months on Golo.
I'm Amber. I've lost 128 pounds with Golo Taking Release.
If you're ready to take back control of your life, head to Golo.com now and see how Golo can work for you. That's Golo.com.
My sleep is way better. My inflammation has gone way down. Golo saved my life. I was way overweight. That's what sent me down the path. I wanted to make sure and live for my kid.
I have literally tried everything. I was on the verge of getting gastric bypass surgery, and I saw the Golo commercial, and it was the last thing I tried because it worked.
Join over 2 million people who have found a better way to lose weight with Golo. Your healthier and happier life begins at Golo.com. That's Golo.com. Again, Golo.com.
Are you a podcaster? Let's talk podcast hosting. Are you tired of your current podcast host? Need real support and a community that gets it? At Rogue Media Network, we offer top-tier podcast hosting services to help you thrive. From hosting and distribution to dedicated support, we've got you covered. Starting as low as $25 a month. Join our community of passionate podcasters today. Contact us at hello@roguemedianetwork.com.